Hi, today I'm going to talk about how I believe the stink of last year is not going to funk up this year. We still have some stink lingering, and it's funky this week, but it's not going to funk up the whole year. Let me tell you about the stink, and I'll tell you why I think it's not going to funk up the whole year. I just found out that that position I was always tentative about is not going to happen. They want to push it back another month or two. And the person that got me the gig got me something back in July too. He just said we're gonna back off of this and move on to something else because the people involved were just kind of they were messing up. Short story was on Monday we had a what was called a kickoff meeting, and in that meeting, a presentation was made by a program manager. The program manager mentioned some equipment that was already ordered and asked if that had already been racked and stacked. Well, that caused a ruckus because the people on site were like, no, it hasn't been racked and stacked. And if we got to do that, we got all these other projects going on. We don't think we can get that done. Maybe we can get it done in a week. When are your people supposed to be coming? They're supposed to be there Monday. We're not ready for Monday because we got this other project going on, this other project. We might need to push this off until like late February, maybe March. And the people on our side are like, these engineers aren't going to, the engineer and the project manager are not going to be available indefinitely like that. What also was part of the presentation about in the kickoff meeting was the fact that a design and some testing had to be done. I'm like, how do you buy equipment before you have a design? Don't you have to have a rough idea of what you're designing before you start to buy equipment? And if a test has to still be done, then why does the equipment need to be racked and stacked? If it's still in a box, when I get there, I can take it out of the box, put them next to each other, plug them up along with some other stuff, and then create a test bed. I could do that. And these other things that they have going on can be done in parallel with our efforts for this particular project that we're walking away from. If you went to the hardware store to buy some tool, I know when I go and buy a tool, especially if it's expensive, I already have a use in mind for it. I don't preemptively just buy tools and have them sit around, but this can happen as a government contractor, I've noticed. The first time I was a government contractor 10 years ago, I remember there was this conference room that I was in for meetings, like 2014, and I saw a brand new TV still in the box. Week after week, month after month, year after year. I was there 3 years. I saw that TV still in a box. Furthermore, to give an idea of how much older the TV was to that location than I was to that location, the TV box had the word plasma on it. When's the last time you heard the word plasma used to describe a TV? By my third year, they actually taken it out of the box and got it mounted someplace. But how do you buy a TV? I mean, who strokes the check to pay for that and just have it sit around for years? Who strokes the check to have us on site for this role, or to have the money in place to buy that equipment and not be prepared to have it installed, designed, tested, and then cut over? Furthermore, talking about the cutover, part of this whole project is to give some training after the cutover. Like, how do you cut over from a test to production? Cut this over to people who aren't trained. Why do you train after the fact? So just a bunch of stuff that I'm not a project manager, but I know better than that. There's an order to operations, and it just seemed messy. Now, here's the reason why I think that this year, the stink left over from last year is not going to funk up this year. And it's obviously because we had an election, and the new guy or the old guy that's coming back, uh, I can see him making moves. I watched his press conference yesterday and how the media is somewhat in fits about him bringing up Greenland, the Panama Canal, and Canada. This is just on the back of the Canadian Prime Minister resigning. Some people refer to him as Fidel Castro Jr., Justin Trudeau. But Trump is is really looking at things globally, worldwide, to protect America. It's not that we're trying to be imperialists, but after the last 4 years, when we're dealing with a nation that would allow a balloon that we don't know anything about to go all over our country from coast to coast, and then we shoot it down with a multi-million-dollar missile, for it to even get here is a problem. And so Greenland and Panama Canal, and these are places that, like Guantanamo Bay, that are strategic to us having visibility into the ocean before things get to us, before they get to our homeland. So I can see him playing that game. I can also see him playing the game when it comes to immigration, legal and illegal, and that ought to have some decent ramifications depending on which way they go. And I do think that ultimately he knows what time it is on that. Um, there's going to be some shakeup and some pushback. You see what Mark Zuckerberg is doing with Facebook now. Just like Elon, I don't 100% trust either one of them. They're new to the game, and Elon is going backwards when it comes to free speech, and Zuckerberg seems to be going forward on free speech. But he was part of the problem, quite frankly. Zuckerberg locking out President Trump, many doctors, and um, spending $400 million to over that to interfere in an election, buying all these drop boxes. And now he's talking about having community notes as opposed to fact checking. Well, he also mentioned that content review will be moved from California to Texas. And if your content review in Texas is going to be in Austin, you might as well stay in California. If it's going to be in almost any big city in Texas, you might as well stay in California. But we'll see what happens. Uh, I think he needs to be watched for the next few years, when for several years he's been on the opposite side of free speech. Free speech. But these are some positives that I see. We're just, some people still have holiday brain, and it might not fully go away until after not only the inauguration, but really annually. That tends to be at least after King Holiday, and for some folks after Valentine's Day. But I don't think the whole year is going to have the stink of the last year lingering on to the next. The reason why there was a lot of stink is we overspent when it came to Ukraine. The only people who have really benefited from the past 4 years are Zelensky and some Ukrainians and illegal aliens. And that has to change. We need a thriving middle class. I saw a story in LinkedIn yesterday where you had someone talking about how in 2004, they're talking over the past 20 years, 2004, the median income was in the $40,000 range. 2024, the median income in America was in the $50,000 range. So in 20 years, it had only gone up 8-9%. By the same token, in 2004, the median price of a house was around $200,000. The median price of a house 20 years later in 2024 was over $400,000. So about a 90% increase, even though a 90% increase in the cost of housing, even though the salaries have only gone up about 8-9% in the same time frame. That hurts the middle class. And when the middle class is hurt, it's no wonder why our birth rate is so low. I hear it's like for every couple, they have 1.6 or 1.7 children when we need to have like 2.1 just to break even, just to maintain. Well, I'm looking forward to these changes. And one of the things I like about Trump is, from my perspective, it seems like he likes and loves America. And I think people like someone who, who, who likes and loves America. Uh, I don't believe that we had that same kind of like and love with Biden. Uh, in my opinion, I don't think everything about him being in office was 100% legitimate. For him to have as many votes as we're being told, that would mean that he would have to be the most beloved, most respected, most popular American politician of all time. And if that were the case, you, I, or anyone else should be able to create some t-shirts with his face on it, some hats that say Build Back Better, or some hats that say I'm with Joe, and we would make a mint. But we can't. Even Senator Fetterman said that he was in some town and he saw a store that was pretty much all MAGA stuff, all Trump, all MAGA, and there's a business made out of it. Trump, in my opinion, is the most beloved, respected, and popular American politician of my adult life. I know he's hated by a similar number of people, but that's because they're under the influence of media. Uh, but the media is losing, not just losing who they voted for, but as I heard a YouTuber say yesterday, YouTube is even taking over TV. I definitely watch more YouTube than I watch regular television, unless I'm talking about sports, unless we're talking sports. But I see more streaming stuff. You know, some of the older people in my family who were still holding on to cable TV have now let go of that $100, $200 bill, $200 a month bill to do streaming, bring that cost down because of inflation. But anyway, how do you feel about this particular year so far, or what do you think is going to happen for the remainder? Do you agree that we still have some holiday funk left over? It's going to take a little bit to shake that off. I like to see your comments. If you like anything that you heard here today, consider subscribing or sharing, and I'll see you next time.